A Sleeping Dogs movie and hopefully sequel are coming, with IGN reporting that production is going ahead from studio Story Kitchen, with Shang-Chi actor Simu Liu taking up the lead role as Wei Chen. Story Kitchen were formed in 2022 with another Sleeping Dogs movie featuring Donnie Yen, initially rumoured for most of the 2010s. But this time, Josh Brown, this is the one.
Don't give me hope,
As Limp
Scott.
Bizkit once said, this could be the one.
As U2 once said, one. I've got nothing else for that.
Jet Li's the one. We should talk
There we
about
go.
the history of Sleeping Dogs. I want to touch on, obviously, the game came out in 2012,
Wow.
which is slightly terrifying. It's a teenager's time ago. However, it is one of the most successful cult classic open world action games of all time. I go back to this thing every sort of couple of years. I think it's always been ripe for more sequels. And the reason that it didn't get them, I don't know if you remember, way back then.
I do, unfortunately.
Back in the day, when Sleeping Dogs first came out, obviously, like, the reception was very strong. The sales were really strong. Game did 1.5 million copies, in the first couple of months. But that wasn't enough for Square Enix, who at the time had such a weird response to all their games.
At the time, they still do that now, Scott Tilford.
But everything was underselling. Nothing hit their expectations, leading to Sleeping Dogs sequel that was initially put into production 1 year after it was then cancelled, as Square Enix ultimately viewed Sleeping Dogs as a failure, like I said, despite 1.5 million sales in just 2 months. But the sequel had all these different plans, all these different story ideas. They were going to go down the route of having 2 playable protagonists, one of which will be a corrupt cop, and they were going to go from there. They also had this crazy cloud-based idea to sync everyone's saves together, so different people's crime regions, however much people were doing in one region would affect the overall map, which is a cool idea.
It's kind of like the Metal Gear 5 Mother Base thing, where you're working towards getting rid of all the nukes. I quite like that, yeah.
It's but something like that. Clearly, United Front Games had various ideas, various unique ideas that would have continued keeping them on the map. I cannot sing the praises of Sleeping Dogs enough. And clearly that rumbled on for most of the 2010s. And like I said, there was a Donnie Yen attached version of a Sleeping Dogs movie. I forget when the initial rumor was first mentioned. It was somewhere around about 2016, 2017, alongside United Front Games finally being shut down. But now we have Simu Liu getting out there following the IGN report. As IGN say, the production's going ahead, Insider Gaming corroborating it as well. Just saying that this production is finally happening, with Story Kitchen taking the reins. Story Kitchen are the Sonic guys. So that's fine by me. They've had a hand. Like I said, they formed in 2022, but they're made up of various veteran people from the industry, some of which worked on all 3 of the Sonic movies, which one of those, the most recent one, is a 5-star banger, goddammit. And so there's some good caliber people behind this, but still quite a young studio overall, so it might take a little while to bring this together. However, Simu Liu is currently attached as Wei Shen.
Yes.
So I don't know if they do a retelling of the original story. The original story is a very Point Break type thing anyway, very Fast and the Furious, going undercover as a cop, trying to break things from within, and then getting different attachments once you're on the criminal side of things. But thoughts on the whole thing?
Oh God, I want this to happen so much.
Me
like
too.
you said, Scott, the original Sleeping Dogs is kind of that game that everyone talks about, and at this point is known more for being underrated than actually being underrated at this point. Can something be underrated, Scott, if it comes up in every list we've ever made about
We are
how
the voice of the
underrated
entire
it
world,
is?
so it's fair enough.
We absolutely are. But like you said, it's got that reputation for a reason. It introduced so many interesting mechanics back in the day. It looked absolutely beautiful. The setting was incredible. And I feel like in the sort of era that we're in now, we don't have enough GTA clones. At a certain point, we had too many. Arguably around the time Sleeping Dogs came out, it was before GTA 5. But now, in an era where we wait 12 years for a new Grand Theft Auto game, at minimum it seems, I want more interesting and unique titles to kind of plug that subgenre, because it feels like it's been left just to GTA, but there's so much you can do in it, as was shown by Sleeping Dogs with its mix of martial arts combat and third-person shooting. Like, that in and of itself is something that we saw way back in the day with, was it True Crime Streets of LA?
So, I was going to mention this before. Sleeping Dogs started as a true crime game. Originally, it was going to be True Crime 3. That was when they were still owned by, it was made by Luxor Flux, and Activision were the publishers. Somewhere in there, Square Enix acquired the guts of the whole thing, and it became Sleeping Dogs. It ditched the whole True Crime 3 thing, but the game was initially announced as True Crime Hong Kong. Veterans, old-ass people like me, or maybe even you, will remember the initial teaser trailer when this was going to be a True crime game.
I missed that. That is amazing.
Shout out to the true crime series. I love Streets of LA and Streets of New York. But yeah, started as a true crime continuation. Obviously, things happen with that. I do want to throw in I want to talk about the GTA stuff. I think that's key to why it's coming back. But I want to throw in a quote from Simu Liu, because he's been all over Twitter just talking about the reality of what it's been like trying to get this thing over the finish line for the last few years. And literally just says, overall, so few film projects make it from pitch phase to greenlight, pitching to executives who don't understand that the game. Pitching to executives. You don't understand how tiring that is overall. He says everyone's overwhelming love of Sleeping Dogs has really given us life. But overall, he does say that pitching to various executives that don't understand the appeal of the game, that's what keeps holding this thing up. And they keep going around in circles trying to get across why it's worth doing, which I think it's worth then throwing in that this is the hopeful year of GTA 6. And like you said, the whole crime sandbox genre just died off. It was most publishers just saying, well, Rockstar owns this, we're not going to be able to get a slice of the pie, so why even bother? Whereas if you go pre-GTA 5, they were everywhere, whether it was true crime or whatever. Saints Row obviously tried to come back, didn't do very well, but Saints Row had a much better run across the 2000s. So I think a lot of this, if you're trying to convince the money men, it's because GTA is about to land and pull the entire industry and various other media spheres in its direction, and you might as well capitalize on that.
That's the thing, right? I don't want to be pessimistic. I still think this thing
That's my job.
I know.
That's
I'm
what
sorry.
I do.
I'm stealing this gimmick. I don't want to be pessimistic, but like the tweet says there, it is really difficult to get any movie off the ground, especially one that doesn't have that name value that a lot of movie studios are looking for right now. I really hope this happens. I wouldn't be surprised if it slipped back into development hell, like so many video game movies have done before. Scott, what happened to that The Division game? What happened to the Division game? I mean, what happened to the Division game, but what happened to the Division movie?
The Splinter Cell movie with Tom Hardy.
Movie.
That was finally put on the shelf, I think, last year. Someone just got out there and say, by the way, that thing's not happening. But that was first teased in the menu for Chaos Theory in 2006.
Long time ago.
Things take a long time. But the Uncharted movie, Mark Wahlberg gonna play Drake, took so long, ended up playing Sully. That's how long that thing was in production.
Amazing.
But yeah, I should have said this at the very beginning, but Simu Liu said as one of his tweets that the overall dream with having this movie, going forward, the dream is to finally greenlight that sequel.
Yeah.
So the assumption is to try and continue. It wouldn't be where United Front left off. I don't even know what the hell even happened to those devs, but maybe we can finally get another game as well.
I would love that. I just think it's interesting now, though, like say 10, 15 years ago, probably 15 to 20 actually, if you were making a movie of a video game, you'd probably throw in the video game as a nice little extra, something that is doable. But in the modern age, a Sleeping Dogs 2, even if it was conservatively budgeted, probably would cost more than it would cost to make a movie version of it. If you were going, say, if you were keeping things relatively small scale and you gave the movie a $50 million budget, you're looking at probably $100 million minimum for a big open world, true Sleeping Dogs 2 game. And I just kind of wonder how hard of a sell that's going to be. Again, I don't want to be too pessimistic. I love that there is a shred of hope for this franchise coming back because I love it as much as you do. I just want to put out there that we have been burned many times before. We have got our hopes up a little bit. We are on fire, some would say. I need someone to put me out, maybe. But, like I said, if this does happen, if we do get a movie and we do get a true sequel, who knows who will make it. But yeah, I feel like there is space for this game and this franchise right now, especially like you said, in the year of GTA 6, hopefully, touch wood.
Touch all the wood.
Maybe the crime sandbox will come back in a big way. Maybe that franchise will finally get, a competitor after dominating for so long. Because, you mentioned Saints Row, but even Saints Row wasn't really a direct GTA competitor for, the back half of its life.
Oh, sales-wise?
Yeah, no, not even that. Just like in terms of mechanics, we got so far removed from what you would describe, I would anyway, as a crime sandbox. We got into like such not even saying this is a bad thing, but it got so exaggerated. You got Johnny Gat with his superpowers and those spin-offs and stuff. And that's all I'm saying. And then obviously they tried to roll that kind of approach back with the reboot, which didn't really move anyone's needle.
No, I was just thinking of the original Saints when it was so close to GTA. But over time, shout out to Saints 3. People don't like Saints 3 that much. I love Saints 3. I get that it killed the IP. I get that things didn't work out well after then, but I was a big fan of doing all those different things. One last thing I want to throw in as to the validity side of things, or the potential validity side of things, is the rise of the Chinese gaming scene overall. You have Sony's China Hero project greenlighting various projects from Chinese studios. The overall representation of China on the global space in gaming. Black Myth Wukong doing so well last year. Again, I think it makes sense, to do something like this from a team that is maybe based in China, or if you want to do something that is set in Hong Kong or whatever. It just feels like a lot of the elements line up in a way that they didn't before. So,
I like that element, Scott. On the What Culture Gamer podcast a few weeks ago, we did a big deep dive into the Chinese market, as it were, thanks to some slides about the state of gaming in 2025. And you're absolutely right. That is a huge market right now, and it kind of has been for a long time. But like you mentioned, with the likes of Black Myth Wukong and obviously other East Asian games like, was it Shift Up's Stellar Blade?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah.
That's South Korea, yeah.
That's what I mean, yeah. Other East Asian sort of developers gaining all of this success.
Totally.
I think it points towards, an embracement of non-Western games of that caliber, and it's clear that when those titles come out, they can sell not only in China or their respective territories, but they can come over to the UK and the US and kind of maybe not sell as much, but still sell a lot, still sell 5 million copies like Black Myth Wukong did.
Definitely. I'll tell you what I need to go and get right now, though.
Go on, then.
Is a pork bun.